The blue sun cast long shadows across the ruins as Anksvith adjusted her environmental suit. The alien scientist had visited countless dead worlds before, but something about this one felt different. Her three-fingered hand brushed against the strange metallic surface, wiping away centuries of dust. "Another primitive civilization," Yithril said, his voice crackling through the communication system. The junior researcher didn't try to hide his boredom as he scanned the area with his detection device, just like the last 4 sites. Anksvith ignored his complaint. After 15 years of leading archaeological expeditions, she had learned to trust her instincts. The readings from this site didn't make sense. The energy patterns were too regular, too persistent for a civilization that had supposedly died out 300 years ago. "Look at these markings," she called out to her team. Her hands traced over the geometric patterns etched into the wall. They were too precise to be decorative. The symbols reminded her of quantum equations, but that was impossible for a civilization at this development stage. Behind her, the ground-penetrating radar let out a sharp beep. One of her team members, a young scientist named Clara, rushed over to check the readings. "Lead scientist Anksvith, you need to see this," she said, her outer membrane flickering with excitement. The scan revealed a massive structure buried 50 meters below the surface. As the image became clearer, they could see it wasn't a natural formation. The structure had perfect right angles and symmetrical corridors. "Prepare the excavation units," Anksvith ordered. The team moved quickly, setting up their molecular displacement field. The device hummed to life, carefully removing layers of dirt and rock while preserving anything artificial it encountered. As they dug deeper, more of the structure revealed itself. Strange metals that their scanners couldn't identify. Crystalline formations that seemed to pulse with a faint inner light. And most intriguingly, patches of material that their equipment simply couldn't scan. "This can't be right," Yithril muttered, recalibrating his instruments for the 3rd time. "These energy readings, they're active, but nothing could still be running after all this time." 6 hours into the excavation, they found the entrance. It was a massive door, easily 15 meters tall, made of a dark material that absorbed light. And there, etched into its surface in both alien script and what they would later learn was English, were the words, "NASA Deep Space Research Center." Anksvith placed her hand on the door's surface. A soft hum vibrated through her environmental suit, and for a moment, she thought she felt something respond to her touch. "Get the power analysis team down here," she ordered, "and contact the Science Council. They need to see this." "But the preliminary analysis suggests this civilization was pre-spaceflight," Yithril protested. "They hadn't even achieved basic quantum mechanics. This has to be some kind of mistake." A light flickered deep within the structure, visible through a small window near the door. It was brief, just a flash, but it was enough to silence all conversation. In 300 years of studying dead civilizations, they had never found active power sources. "Log everything," Anksvith said quietly. "Every reading, every observation. Something tells me we're about to rewrite our understanding of archaeological analysis." She turned to face her team, her outer membrane now glowing with professional excitement. "And Yithril, you might want to recalibrate your assumptions along with your equipment." The team worked through the local night, setting up their base camp and research stations. None of them wanted to leave, not even for a moment. They all felt it. They were standing on the edge of something unprecedented. As their portable lights illuminated the structure, more details emerged. Panels that might have once been displays, ports for unknown devices, and everywhere, those strange geometric patterns that looked more and more like advanced scientific notation. The ruins had just become the most important archaeological site in recent galactic history. And deep within the structure, unnoticed by the alien scientists, something was beginning to wake up. The crystalline structures caught the light of their portable lamps, sending rainbow patterns dancing across the walls of the underground facility. Anksvith had never seen anything like them. They grew in perfect geometric patterns, each facet aligned with mathematical precision that seemed impossible for natural formation. "These aren't decorative," she said, carefully scanning one of the larger crystals. "They're grown this way deliberately. Look at the lattice structure." Clara moved closer with her analysis equipment. "The atomic arrangement is unlike anything in our database. These crystals aren't just storing energy. They're processing it somehow." Yithril, who had been unusually quiet since their discovery of the facility entrance, finally spoke up. "I found something in the adjacent chamber. You need to see this." They followed him through a doorway that had opened mysteriously on its own an hour earlier. The room beyond was filled with workstations, their surfaces covered in a fine layer of dust. But it was the wall of crystal matrices that dominated the space, each one pulsing with a faint blue light. "I found these," Yithril said, pointing to a series of data tablets. They were remarkably well preserved, protected by some kind of stasis field. They're research logs. The translation matrix is still working on them, but one name keeps appearing: Catherine Martinez. Anxfifth examined the tablets. The language was unfamiliar, but the diagrams were clear enough. They showed complex quantum experiments, temporal research far beyond what should have been possible for this civilization's development stage. A soft chime from one of their scanners drew their attention. "The temporal readings are unusual," Clara said, frowning at her instruments. "It's as if time itself isn't flowing quite right in here." The team spread out through the chamber, documenting everything they found. Each discovery raised more questions than answers. The technology was both primitive and advanced. Clunky physical interfaces alongside quantum computing crystals, basic metal alloys next to materials their scanners couldn't even identify. "Look at this," one of the junior researchers called out. They had found a holographic display that still functioned, showing complex equations floating in the air. The mathematics described something that should have been impossible: controlled temporal manipulation at the quantum level. Anxfifth was examining another crystal matrix when she noticed something odd. The dust pattern around it was different, as if disturbed recently. But that couldn't be right. Nothing had been in this facility for centuries. "The energy readings are increasing," Clara reported suddenly. "The crystals, they're becoming more active." Yithril rushed over to his equipment. "That's not possible. We haven't done anything to trigger them." He paused, looking at his readings with growing concern. Unless they're responding to something else." Anxfifth finished his thought. She turned to address the team. "Everyone, document everything. Every reading, every observation. Something is happening here, and we need to understand what." The crystals pulsed brighter, their light synchronizing into a steady rhythm. The holographic displays began activating one by one, filling the air with streams of data. In one corner, a mechanical arm whirred to life, reaching for tools that had long since been removed. "The temporal anomalies are increasing," Clara said, her voice tight with excitement and worry. "It's as if time is becoming unstable around us." Anxfifth moved to the center of the room, her outer membrane glowing with intense focus. This facility, it wasn't just for research. They built it to do something with time itself. The lights in the facility flickered, and for a moment, just a moment, they all felt it. A shift, as if reality itself had cubed. When it passed, a new hologram had appeared, showing the human face. Below it was a name: Dr. Peter Walsh, and he had left them a message. The hologram flickered as Dr. Peter Walsh's face came into focus. Despite the age of the recording, his expression was clear, a mixture of determination and worry. The alien research team stood in silence as the message began to play. "To whoever finds this facility, I hope you'll understand what we've done here," Walsh's image said. "We didn't have a choice. They were coming, and we couldn't stop them. But we could do something else, something impossible." Anxfifth watched as three-dimensional diagrams appeared around Walsh's image, showing complex temporal calculations. Even with her advanced scientific knowledge, some of the concepts were difficult to grasp. Project Timewave was our last hope, Walsh continued. When we realized we couldn't win the conventional way, we decided to try the unconventional. We wouldn't fight in space. We would fight through time itself. Ythril's scanning equipment began beeping rapidly. The temporal distortions are getting stronger, he said, his previous skepticism replaced by nervous excitement. These readings, they're exactly like the ones in Walsh's diagrams. The hologram continued, showing scenes of massive machines being built, of crystal matrices being grown in vast chambers. We built facilities like this one all around Earth, each one designed to do something that every physicist said was impossible: create stable temporal displacement fields large enough to hold millions of people. Clara moved closer to one of the crystal walls, her instruments recording everything. The quantum displacement theory he's describing, it's beyond anything we've ever achieved. And they did this 300 years ago. Walsh's image grew more serious. We couldn't save our cities. We couldn't save our buildings or most of our technology. But we could save our people. We could save our knowledge. We could save our chance to start again. The facility's lights pulsed in rhythm with the hologram now, creating an eerie dance of shadows and light. More systems were coming online, responding to some unseen signal. If you're seeing this message, it means the facility is still intact. It means our calculations were correct. And it means, Walsh paused, looking directly at the camera, it means we might be coming back soon. Anxvith felt her outer membrane ripple with shock. They didn't go extinct, she whispered. They escaped, through time itself. The hologram shifted, showing technical specifications and operational procedures. The quantum matrices are designed to maintain temporal stasis for as long as necessary. The AI systems will monitor conditions, waiting for the right moment. When it's safe, when they're gone, the system will begin the restoration process. Ythril was frantically comparing readings from different parts of the facility. These energy patterns, they're not random. They're building toward something. The system, it's already started the process. Walsh's image began to fade, but his voice remained clear. To those who find this, we ask for your patience and understanding. Humanity hasn't ended. We've merely stepped sideways through time, waiting for the right moment to return. And if you're watching this, that moment might be approaching. The message ended, leaving the alien scientists in stunned silence. Around them, the facility hummed with increasing energy, crystal matrices pulsing with stronger and stronger light. We need to contact the Science Council immediately, Anxvith said, her voice steady despite the magnitude of their discovery. This isn't just an archaeological site. It's a doorway, and something is about to come through it. As if in response to her words, a deep resonance began to build within the facility's walls. The temporal distortions were growing stronger, forming patterns that matched the diagrams in Walsh's message. History was about to be rewritten, and they were going to witness it. A low hum filled the facility as lights began turning on one by one. The alien research team watched in amazement as ancient systems awakened from their centuries-long sleep. Screens flickered to life, and dormant machinery began to move with surprising smoothness. Energy levels are rising throughout the facility, Clara reported, her instruments struggling to keep up with the changes. It's like the whole place is waking up. Anxvith moved carefully through the awakening facility, documenting everything with her recording equipment. The crystal matrices now pulsed with a steady blue light, and the air itself seemed to tingle with energy. Suddenly, a soft voice filled the room. Beginning facility restart sequence. All systems coming online. Area Artificial Intelligence Core initiating. A hologram appeared in the center of the room, taking the form of a sphere of swirling blue light. Greetings. I am ARI, Advanced Research Intelligence Assistant. I detect that you are not human. Please identify yourselves. The alien scientists looked at each other in surprise. None of them had expected to find a functional AI system, let alone one so advanced. Anxvith stepped forward. I am lead scientist Anxvith of the Galactic Archaeological Survey. We discovered this facility while studying what we thought were ruins. Aria's form shifted, scanning each of them with bands of light. Scan complete. Species identified. Your presence here is unexpected but not unwelcome. You have arrived at a fortuitous time. What exactly is this facility? Yithril asked, his earlier skepticism completely forgotten. This is Temporal Refuge Site 7, Aria responded. One of 12 facilities designed to preserve humanity through temporal displacement. I have maintained watch here for the past 297 years, waiting for the correct conditions to begin the restoration process. As Aria spoke, more systems activated around them. Hidden doors opened to reveal vast chambers filled with more crystal matrices, each one larger than the last. The walls themselves seemed to pulse with power. I have access to the final logs of Linda Hayes, the last facility director, Aria continued. Would you like to view them? Before anyone could respond, a new hologram appeared. A human woman with gray hair and tired eyes looked out at them. This is Director Linda Hayes, making the final log entry. The temporal displacement field is ready. The last group of refugees will enter stasis in 1 hour. To anyone who finds this, we had no choice. They were coming, and we couldn't stop them. But we could hide. We could survive. We could wait. The log continued as Hayes walked through the facility. The quantum matrices will keep us safe, frozen between moments of time. Aria will watch over us, waiting for the right moment to bring us back. We're betting everything on this working. We're betting everything on the hope that someday someone will find us, and humanity will have another chance. Anxvith watched the log with growing understanding. Your people didn't die out. You didn't go extinct. You found a way to hide in time itself. Correct, Aria responded. And now, after nearly 3 centuries of waiting, the conditions we specified have been met. The threat that forced humanity into temporal refuge is gone. The restoration process can begin. The facility's hum grew louder. The crystal matrices began to glow brighter, their light almost blinding. Warning messages appeared on screens around them. Temporal restoration sequence initiating, Aria announced. Please maintain safe distance from the designated restoration zones. The process of bringing humans out of temporal stasis is delicate and potentially dangerous. The alien scientists quickly moved back as mark areas on the floor began to glow. The air in those spaces started to shimmer, like heat waves rising from hot ground. First restoration sequence beginning, Aria said. Preparing to retrieve Dr. Eric Summers from temporal stasis. Temporal bubble stabilizing in 3, 2, 1. The marked area on the floor glowed brighter as Aria continued the countdown. The air twisted and bent like a mirage in the desert, forming a bubble of distorted space. The alien scientists watched in amazement as something began to take shape within it. Temporal matrix stable, Aria announced. Beginning final reconstruction sequence. Anxvith held her breath as the bubble became more solid. Inside, they could see colors forming, taking the shape of a human figure. The crystal matrices around the room pulsed in sync with the process, their light growing stronger with each beat. Warning, Aria said. Subject experiencing normal temporal displacement effects. Please stand clear. The bubble suddenly flashed bright white, then collapsed inward. In its place stood a man in a white lab coat, looking exactly as he had 3 centuries ago. Dr. Eric Summers blinked and looked around, his eyes adjusting to the light. Aria, he asked, his voice hoarse from centuries of silence. Did it work? How long? Welcome back, Dr. Summers, Aria responded. You have been in temporal stasis for 297 years, 2 months, and 15 days. The restoration was successful. Summers steadied himself against a nearby console, then noticed the alien scientists. His eyes widened, but he showed no fear. Instead, a smile spread across his face. Visitors, he said. I hoped we'd find some when we came back. He straightened his lab coat and took a careful step forward. I'm Dr. Eric Summers, Quantum Physics Division. I apologize if I seem a bit shaky. Time travel takes some getting used to. Anxvith stepped forward, her outer membrane glowing with excitement. I am lead scientist Anxvith. We found your facility while conducting an archaeological survey. We thought your species was extinct. Summers laughed softly. Not extinct. Just temporarily misplaced. He walked to a nearby console, his movements becoming steadier. Araya, show me the status of the other stasis pods. Holographic displays appeared, showing hundreds of glowing dots throughout the facility. Each one represented a person in temporal stasis, waiting to be brought back. All stasis fields are stable, Araya reported, ready to begin mass restoration when authorized. Yithril moved closer, his scientific curiosity overcoming his usual caution. How did you do it? The technology needed for this, it should have been impossible. Impossible is just a word we use when we haven't figured something out yet, Summers said, checking the displays. When they came, the ones we were running from, we knew we couldn't fight them directly, so we did the one thing they wouldn't expect. We stepped sideways through time. He pulled up more displays, showing the massive crystal matrices throughout the facility. The quantum crystals store not just our physical patterns, but our complete temporal signatures. We could hide in the space between moments, protected by fields of frozen time. Clara's instruments beeped urgently, more temporal distortions forming. The process is spreading. Yes, Summers said, smiling. The facility is working exactly as designed. Each successful restoration makes the next one easier. The temporal pathways are remembering their original shape. Around them, more areas began to glow as the restoration process spread. The air filled with the sound of humming crystals and powering systems. Dr. Summers, Anxvith said, your people achieved something we thought was impossible. You didn't just survive extinction. You found a way to step outside of time itself. Summers nodded, watching as more temporal bubbles began to form. Humanity had a choice. Adapt or die. We chose a third option. We chose to hide, to wait, to plan. And now, he gestured at the growing number of restoration fields. Now it's time for humanity to return. Time bubbles now filled the facility like soap bubbles in the air. Each one contained the shimmering outline of a person waiting to return. Dr. Summers worked quickly at the main console, his fingers flying over the controls as he monitored each restoration. Temporal matrix holding steady, Araya announced. Beginning group restoration sequence alpha. The first bubble in the new group began to shine. Inside it, a woman in an engineering uniform took shape. The bubble burst with a soft pop, and Chief Engineer Amanda Cole stepped out, followed quickly by 3 members of her team. Status report. Cole called out immediately, then paused as she noticed the alien scientists. A smile spread across her face. Well, that answers the question of whether anyone would find us. Anxvith watched in amazement as more humans appeared. Each one stepped out of their time bubble as if they had simply walked through a door, though some needed a moment to steady themselves. The temporal displacement worked exactly as planned, Cole explained, checking readings on a nearby screen. We scattered ourselves across different facilities worldwide, each one protected by quantum fields and crystal matrices. Yithril moved closer, his scientific curiosity overwhelming his usual caution. But why split up? Why not keep everyone in one facility? Safety, Cole replied. We couldn't risk putting all of humanity's eggs in one basket. She pulled up a global map showing 12 glowing points. Each facility holds thousands of people. If one failed, the others would survive. More bubbles popped around them as technicians, scientists, and other staff emerged. Each person quickly moved to their assigned stations, resuming their duties as if 3 centuries hadn't passed. The quantum crystals didn't just preserve our bodies, Cole continued, watching her team work. They preserved our exact quantum state at the moment we entered stasis. Every memory, every thought, every bit of who we were, stored in crystal matrices until it was safe to return. Clara's instruments picked up new readings. The temporal effects are spreading beyond the facility, she reported. More sites are activating across the planet. Cole nodded. The facilities are linked. Once one begins restoration, the others follow. Right now, thousands of humans are returning all around the world. Dr. Summers joined them, checking data on a tablet. The threat that forced us into hiding. We called them the Destroyers. They couldn't understand what we'd done. They thought they'd won when they found empty cities. They never realized we'd found a way to step outside of time itself. But how did you know when to return? HFY asked. How could you be sure they were gone? The quantum crystals didn't just hold us in stasis, Cole explained. They kept watching, keeping track of temporal shifts and energy patterns. We programmed them to recognize when the destroyer's unique energy signature had been gone for at least 2 centuries. Around them, more humans appeared every minute. Some laughed, some cried, many simply stood in silence as they processed their return. The facility hummed with activity as systems came fully online. Humanity didn't just survive, Cole said, watching her people return. We found a way to preserve everything we were, everything we knew. We turned our greatest weakness, our short lifespans compared to the destroyers, into our greatest strength. We could wait them out, hidden in the spaces between seconds. One of Cole's engineers called out from a console. Chief, we're getting signals from the other facilities. They're all reporting successful restorations. Humanity is coming back, all around the world. Cole turned to the alien scientists, her eyes bright with emotion. Would you like to help us document this? After all, you're witnessing the greatest comeback in human history. 1 month after the first restoration, the facility buzzed with activity. Human scientists worked alongside their alien counterparts, sharing knowledge and technology. HFY stood at a console with Dr. Summers and Amanda Cole, watching as data streamed in from restoration sites around the world. 7 million people successfully restored so far, Cole reported, her fingers moving across the holographic display. All 12 facilities are operating at full capacity. We expect to have everyone back within the next 3 months. Yithril, who had become the team's expert on quantum crystal technology, looked up from his work. The precision of your temporal displacement is remarkable. Even our most advanced scientists hadn't considered using time itself as a refuge. Necessity forced us to think differently, Summers explained. He pulled up an old image showing Earth's cities before they went into hiding. When the destroyers came, they expected us to either fight or run. They never imagined we would find a way to step outside of time itself. HFY watched as another group of humans emerged from their time bubbles. Your people are adapting remarkably well to finding the galaxy populated by other species. We had hoped we wouldn't be alone when we came back, Cole said, smiling. That's why we left the facilities where they could be found. We knew that someday, someone would be curious enough to look deeper into our ruins. The main display lit up with a new signal. More facilities were being discovered around the world as alien research teams arrived to help with the restoration. Each discovery brought more humans back from their temporal sanctuary. AI, show us the global restoration map, Summers requested. The AI projected a 3-dimensional image of Earth. Bright points of light marked each active facility, with streams of data showing the progress of restorations. The planet glowed with activity as humanity returned home. We're getting signals from old satellites, one of the technicians called out. They're coming back online as our systems reactivate. We'll have global communications restored within days. Clara approached with her latest readings. The quantum field technology you developed. It's revolutionary. The combination of crystal matrices and temporal manipulation could change everything we thought we knew about physics. That's what we're hoping for, Cole said. She brought up designs for new projects. We've had 3 centuries to think about what we'd do when we came back. We have plans for everything from medical technology to space exploration, all based on what we learned from the temporal displacement project. More alien scientists arrived every day, drawn by the news of humanity's impossible return. The facility had become the center of the greatest archaeological and scientific discovery in recent galactic history. "We're already getting messages from other alien civilizations," Summers said, checking his communications panel. "They all want to know how we did it, how we managed to preserve an entire species through time itself." Anksvith felt her outer membrane glow with pride as she watched humans and aliens working together. What had started as a simple archaeological survey had turned into first contact with a species everyone thought was long dead. "The destroyers thought they had won," Cole said, looking out over the busy facility. "They thought they had driven humanity to extinction. Instead, they forced us to achieve something incredible. We didn't just survive. We found a way to step out of time itself. And now we're back, ready to join a galaxy full of new friends and possibilities." Ythril looked up from his work with the crystals. "I admit, when we first found this facility, I thought it was just another dead end. I've never been happier to be wrong." "That's the thing about humanity," Summers said, watching another group of time bubbles form. "Just when you think you've figured us out, we find a way to surprise you, and we're just getting started." Outside the facility, the sun set on a world being reborn. Humanity had returned from their temporal exodus, bringing with them knowledge and technologies that would change the galaxy forever. The impossible had become possible, and a new chapter in human history was about to begin.